welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best school friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster. And if you've been around Ghouls Night In for a bit, you probably know that Penny and I both have kind of a special interest when it comes to cryptozoology.
Hmm.
I am particularly fond of a couple of different cryptids, and you all probably remember me getting fully geeked out during Penny's Weird Wisconsin episode where we talked about the hodag.
Oh, love that
Um,
hodag.
and how my love affair spiraled for the coming weeks. Do you have a favorite cryptid, Penny? Is it Mr. Hodag?
Ooh, yeah, I mean, the hodag is my hometown cryptid. I would say I feel like it's so popular these days to be a Mothman fan.
R.I.P. me, because that's what we're talking about
Heck
today.
yes. That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I feel like he's so popular now, but he's still a cool dude.
I just have big love for my boy Mothman. I really do. I did want to mention real quick at the top of this, if you are also a cryptid person, we have some lovely friends, Eric and Chelsea, who run another podcast called Sips and Spirits, and they do really fun episodes called Cryptid in a Cocktail, where they will talk about different cryptids and do a cocktail like based on the cryptid they're talking about. They have not done Mothman yet, but I'm sure they will at some point. But yeah, if you're a cryptid lover, check that out because it's really fun, and I freaking love anything cryptid related.
Yes. And cocktail related.
And
The
cocktail
best of both
related.
worlds.
You get the best. Yeah. But yeah, today I want to talk about Mothman and his kind of origin story. But first, what is Mothman? I'm so glad you asked. I would love to tell you.
Mm.
Mothman is a creature that is most oftenly described as a large brown kind of shadowy humanoid type figure with massive wings and glowing red eyes. And he was reportedly seen in Point Pleasant, West Virginia area from November 1966 through December 1967. Was kind of the height of the Mothman sighting craze. So, a bit of history about the sightings. The first recorded sighting of him was in 1966 when a group of gravediggers said that they saw a huge winged man in the trees hopping from branch to branch,
Like you do.
which is a really funny mental image in my head, but it was probably scary.
Scary in the moment.
You're right. And then a couple days later, in Point Pleasant, two couples came to police and said that they had spotted a 10-foot wingspan figure with glowing red eyes standing in front of a car that they were all sitting in. And they were reportedly driving around what is labeled as the TNT area, which we'll get into a bit more later. But the first newspaper report that mentions the critter, which I'll tell you now, a theme of this episode is going to be just incredible journalism where article titles are concerned. uh, but so this first one in 1966 that is published in the Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16. The title of the article is "Couples see man-sized bird ... creature ... something."
What more do you have to say?
Yeah, there you have it. That's the whole thing. But yeah, so I mean, these sightings happened within a few days of each other, and the gravedigger sighting had not been like widely reported. So then at this point, there's starting to be kind of a corroboration of stories, right? And that started a sort of mass hysteria in the West Virginia region here, near Point Pleasant, which is pretty northern West Virginia and a very, very small town.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone in this area, a bunch of people start claiming that they've seen this bird human creature. And There were claims that he could fly up to 100 miles per hour.
What? That's extremely fast.
He's a fast boy. And this is my favorite part. Almost all witnesses corroborated the story that he was incredibly clumsy on the ground.
Sorry,
uh,
bud.
Sorry, but so they were like, he's super fast at flying, but the two couples that were in the car together that spotted him said he kind of like fumbled away and like stumbled. He couldn't run. So that makes me love him all the more that he's a little like slapstick comedian. So then the probably the most widely used sighting story is a man that was in Salem, West Virginia, and he had a report that his TV one night got like staticky, started buzzing, was showing all these like strange patterns in the static. Shortly before he heard a noise outside and saw a shadowy figure standing at his window. So he went out to check it out, and when he turned a flashlight on it, the eyes glowed red like his words, quote, bicycle reflectors.
Okay.
And then the reason people like to use this story is because also this man then claimed that after this sighting, he never saw his dog again.
Aw.
So it is believed that Mothman
Did
took
Mothman crunch a dog?
took this man's dog. I like to think that Mothman was just lonely and
All right.
he is somewhere with a little pet Baxter somewhere.
I like that better.
uh But then following this, yeah, the Gettysburg Times reported 8 additional sightings in a short span of 3 days after the first claims. Um, and another article that I just want to give a noteworthy journalism award here from the once again from the Point Pleasant Register. So the journalists here are killing it. November 25th, 1966, the article is titled, "Oh, that bird. It was seen again."
What?
Oh, that bird.
I like that this newspaper is just like chatting with us. They're like,
They're like,
"We
God
saw
darn
a
it.
big bird. Something. Ah, remember that bird? It's back."
Ah, that dang bird. Bird is the word. Yeah, they're just I think they're dazed and confused. But yeah, this was this article was the first documenting of a daytime sighting of Mothman,
Mm.
about 10 days after the multiple nighttime sightings that occurred. So this is where it turns kind of conspiracy theory weird, which I love. Not that we weren't already a conspiracy theory with a giant brown Mothman. But about a year after all these sightings occur, he continues to be seen around this area for the majority of the year between November of 66 and December of 67. And then in December of 67, there was a tragedy in Point Pleasant again.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Silver Bridge collapse. It was a bridge that went over the Ohio River. It was full of traffic that day, and due to the bridge being very, very old and not really made to withstand modern car weights, and just also not being built with the best materials and whatnot, collapsed into the river, and
Mm-hmm.
46 people died. That at the time was the largest bridge related incident in America, that as far as number of people that were lost in it. And because of that, it was obviously pretty covered by the media. And because this was the second time within a year that Point Pleasant had been the subject of a nationwide media spree, the town kind of starts to get this mark as being paranormal or cursed.
Mm-hmm.
People start kind of tying strings together very loosely that the bridge collapse was somehow related to the sightings of Mothman leading up to it. This gets furthered by an author by the name of John Keel, who publishes a book in 1975. This is probably what a lot of people are familiar with, which is the Mothman Prophecies. Started as a book and then later was turned into a film in 2002, which I think a lot of people our age probably remember that movie coming out. Richard Gere puts on just a great performance.
Ooh.
Um, but basically, Keel, the author of the book, kind of sets up this precedent that Mothman is an omen of tragedy to come, and that people see him before some kind of crazy paranormal or tragedy incident occurs. And then people throughout history then start kind of tying Mothman to like things like Chernobyl.
Hmm.
Casual. So but then as far as sightings go, they mostly die out after the late 1960s. After the bridge collapse in Point Pleasant, no one really claimed to see him again, and which is why people believed like, oh, he was here to tell us this terrible thing was going to happen, and then it happened and he left. But every so often there are still some sightings that emerge. There was in 2016 a man who had just moved to Point Pleasant who spotted a creature jumping from tree to tree outside his window, and he told local reporters and people that he was somehow unaware of Mothman, which I don't know about that. But he said, yeah, he had no idea about the legend or anything until he spotted Mothman himself. And then, according to the University of Chicago, there were 55 sightings of Mothman in the Chicago area during
What?
2017.
What you doing over there, Mothman?
Which, yeah, that's kind of the furthest point that he's been documented. Well, I mean, people have claimed to see him
Yeah.
out all over the place, but as far as like large saturation of sightings, Chicago is kind of the furthest point out from West Virginia that he has been, quote, spotted. So now I want to talk a bit about what could actually be happening.
Yes. Tell me the theories.
The theories of what Mothman is. This is actually really interesting. I did not know this pre-researching this episode. So apparently the best theory of what they believe is that Mothman is a sandhill crane, which I guess is a migratory bird that travels from Canada to the southern United States in the winter. And they look very much like the description of Mothman. They're kind of a brownish gray bird. They're like 5 feet tall. They have huge wingspans, and they have red patches around their eyes.
Oh.
So this is kind of widely believed to be what people were seeing. They typically, though, here's where it's like, they don't typically go where, like in West Virginia, that this wouldn't be a typical migration pattern for them. But then there's like there's more to this theory. I'm debating if I'm gonna go. But here's my thing. I know the mind plays tricks on people when they get spooked, and that like his mass hysteria and like mob mentality is very much a thing, right? However, I find it really hard to believe that people would mistake a crane body for a full-blown man. I don't know. Like, cranes have such tiny little legs.
They do. Some, like, I was thinking when we were talking about this, I'm like, some birds are just like, when you see a bird that's really big up close, you're like, hot damn, this is way bigger than I thought birds could be.
I guess that's true. I've never, yeah, I mean, other than like a peacock at the zoo, I've never been that close to a big bird. So maybe, I guess it is 5 feet tall. That's a pretty big stinking bird.
And I feel like you might be distracted by like the wings, and you're like, ah, shit. And then you're not like, what size are your legs?
Well, yeah. That's what I'm gonna shout the next time I see a bird. What size are your legs? But so here's where it gets more interesting.
Mm.
Some people believed that maybe this crane, if that's what people are seeing, was mutated or deformed
Oh.
because of the TNT area. Remember? Oh, there's
Foreshadowing.
oh. Um, so in Point Pleasant, there are a lot of like World War II manufacturing bunkers in this area that
Ooh.
were used to create ammunition during that time. And people have suggested that these bunkers were like leaking toxic materials into the neighboring wildlife preserve, and that it could have affected how different animals developed. So there's theories that there's a mutant crane.
I was gonna say, is he a teenage mutant ninja crane?
uh, which I guess, like, in theory, if that was the case, and then it stopped being sighted after about a year, if an animal was like deformed in a way that would prevent it from living
Yeah.
the best it could, it would not make it very long. So it's not a bad theory. I think it makes sense. um what I did kind of think was like fun, not fun, but like interesting, is, like I said, because of the bridge incident and multiple people kind of tying these threads together. Mothman became this kind of what his visitations were like a prediction that tragedy was coming, right?
Hmm.
And cranes and herons as birds in a lot of cultures are thought of as being like harbingers of good fortune and luck.
Mm.
And so I think it's funny that Mothman's like the anti-crane,
Yeah.
like like he's the harbinger of death and misfortune. um but I do think that like is kind of an interesting tie-in.
Yeah.
So Mothman today, this is funny. So Point Pleasant, uh, obviously starts then like later, much later, once the wake of the tragedy has settled.
Yeah.
They erected a 12-foot tall chrome statue of Mothman in
Yes, I
Point.
was gonna say, I'm like, this whole time I'm like, they have a statue of Mothman now, don't
Yeah, they
they?
do. They sure do. A big boy. Yeah, 12 foot tall, with bright red eyes, and it's in front of the Mothman Museum in Point Pleasant. And they have a festival every year now
Heck
that
yeah.
began in 2002 when the film version of Mothman Prophecies was released. They do it every September to like commemorate the Mothman sightings, which is so cute. Um, the events of the festival include a Mothman 5K and a Mothman nighttime hayride to the TNT area.
I feel like the 5K is kind of rude considering that he is notably
That's
bad on
why
his feet.
that's why I included it. It made me laugh. I was hoping when I saw the title that it was gonna be like a Krampus parade situation where it would be
Uh,
like a lot of people dressed as Mothman running clumsily.
running poorly, that would be amazing.
I was hoping, but then I remembered that people aren't as fun as I want them to be, and it's just a
No.
bunch of white chads in sweatbands. Really bummed out. This is my official petition to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to begin the Mothman 5K, where, or like a three-legged race, so they can't run
Oh
well.
yeah, that would be
Like,
good.
but they have to be dressed as Mothman, and they can't do a good job.
I mean,
Those
it
are the
only
rules.
it only takes one person to sign up for this 5K and do it
You do it that way.
do it in character as Mothman. I encourage this to any of our listeners who are attending Mothman Fest.
What I'm hearing, Penny, is that you and I are taking a trip to West Virginia on September 17th this year.
I won't even have to pretend to be bad at running.
Me either. It'll be perfect. We're the perfect candidates.
There you go.
Another little juicy tidbit: if you go to the Mothman Festival website, they have something called the Moth Cam, and you can watch a 24-hour a day live stream of the Mothman statue. I watched it for about 15 minutes yesterday.
Did he do anything?
He did not, but it is fun to watch people like come up to it and be like kind of taken aback by its presence. It's a big freaking statue.
Yeah, and okay, maybe this is an inappropriate question to ask, but I feel like I remember from looking at it that it's got some cakes.
I don't know. I haven't. Maybe that's why the moth cam is a side profile view.
Yeah. I feel like I remember some like watching someone who went there and they were just like, there's a booty on this Mothman statue.
Hold on, I have to know now. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Because literally it's the lead image that comes up when you
It's the
Google Mothman
booty.
statue. That's so funny. Yeah, he's got gams. He's ripped.
He's ready to foretell some tragedy with some clapping cheeks.
He also looks like he has like chest hair
Mm.
and like dreads. Like he's got a little bit of like an alien
Yeah.
vibe. Interesting. Yeah, he's. I do find it interesting. The statue is not really the traditional depiction of Mothman that
Mhm.
we see like so often. Which, speaking of which, he's still pretty prevalent in pop culture nowadays. He had his own episode of Unsolved Mysteries, Penny.
Yes, I was like, I've seen him on Unsolved Mysteries. I remember Robert Stack telling us very seriously about this bridge collapse.
He has appeared in a lot of video games like Fallout and The Witcher. And of course, a lot of artists and makers give us really great Mothman merch year round.
Yes.
I have a very cute Mothman plushie from Em and Sprout that is one of my favorite things I have ever purchased. Do you have any Mothman memorabilia?
Ooh, I don't think I do currently. I have a cryptid zine that has Mothman in it.
A
Um,
cryptid zine?
mm-hmm.
Say more words.
Yeah, so it's like a cool little a casual art zine put together by an artist that's like Cryptids of America, I think. I'll
Ooh.
have to grab it off my bookshelf and take a look, but I'm pretty sure Mothman is in there. I got it as like a bonus along with I think I bought an art print from someone and got
Oh
this.
my
Either that or it
gosh.
was a gift.
That's
Obviously
fun.
people are like, cryptids, Penny. Here we go. But there are so many cute things, or I feel like I've been seeing a lot of Mothman tattoos recently.
Oh, really?
Like on TikTok especially. I feel like he's extremely popular, and I do still constantly get there's the TikTok audio that's someone singing Mothman to the tune of Young Man from YMCA.
Yeah.
And I still think
Mothman.
of that a lot. I'm just like, Mothman.
I have very for quite I would say 3 years now. I have been wanting to do like a pinup Mothman
Oh, that'd be so cute.
cosplay. Um, so maybe now's the time,
This
and I
is your
can
this is
and
your
I
year,
can
Midge.
I can really show my cheeks because apparently that's canon.
Yeah.
uh, that is all that I have to share about Mothman today. Please, if you are a listener who happens to be from West Virginia and you grew up in the Mothman territory, let us know because if you have any local stories or personal sightings, we would love to know about it. And you can let us know about that over on Instagram. If you are not already following us, you can follow us over there on uh on Ghouls Night on Ghouls Night In at Ghouls Night In Pod. And if you would like to and you are liking this podcast, which we hope you are, you can leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That really helps us know that we're doing a good job and helps us get new listeners to the podcast. So we really appreciate y'all spreading the word and leaving us those reviews so we can hopefully read them live right here on the air.
Yes, give us validation. We need it.
You have to tell us you believe in us, otherwise we're just cryptids ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So true. So true.
Well, and if you are looking for me, you can find me across all platforms at Midge Munster.
And you can find me at Penny Snark.
And until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.